All right, a quick update on Venture Global while I'm at the dog park. You may have noticed today that it's down over 10%. So I was looking at it again. It's one of my favorite trading sardines. It was down 10% on news that there is supposedly peace in Hormuz in Iran. And as we've seen in the past, those ceasefires don't tend to last long. So this is a pretty reliable way to buy it when it's down temporarily and then wait for the price to jump back up when things get worse. Uh, as a company, some good things with Venture Global. Most of the lawsuits are now behind it. I think there's only one or two lawsuits left. They've either won or settled most of them. They lost one. Uh, but the company is in a lot better shape for a few reasons. One is they signed long term contracts, and if 20% of the liquefied natural gas goes through the Strait of Hormuz, uh, maybe people will be unwilling to sign long-term contracts that are underway in Qatar or UAE if there is another round of fighting. And then even if you have a contract, you can't get it filled because of force majeure clauses, and then you'd have to end up buying it from a place like Venture Global anyway. Another positive development is on the debt side. So it looks a lot better company now than it was before when I was invested in it. So they had a few billion of debt coming due in 2028, and they were able to refinance that debt. So the debt that was due in 2028 was 8.1%, and there was some concern with interest rates going up and inflation that if they had to refinance it, it might be at a higher rate than that. But it wasn't because things are better at the company. Um, the debt that's due in 2028 was refinanced or is going to be redeemed, and they're going to issue new debt expiring in 2034 and 2036. And the rate on that will be about 6.5% instead of 8.1%. So they'll save a lot of money every year, and they've got the rate locked in for more than a decade. So as a company, it's looking great. And as I said, it opened down about 5% and then down 7%. And I was sort of holding off to see how low it'll go. It closed down more than 10% for the day. So tomorrow I'm going to check on it before it opens and check out the option chain. And I may be able to sell some puts or buy some calls and play it that way. And one of the strategies I like to use, they're called verticals. So if I buy a long dated call, let's say it's 12 today and it expires in a year or two, and the expiration is $20. Um, that might be a little bit expensive, but if I sell the $20 call, sorry, if I buy the $20 call, meaning if it goes up above 20, uh, I may make money after considering the premium I paid, and I'll sell $25 puts. Then between 20 and 25, I can make a lot of money. And if it doesn't get to above 20, because I've sold the $25 calls, I get to keep that premium, right? So it reduces the price that I'll pay for the $20 call, and it limits my upside past 25. But it makes it more attractive if it doesn't cross that $20 threshold, and those expire worthless because I ended up paying less for them, right? And you can do the same thing with puts. So if it's trading at 12 today and I sold $10 puts, that's great. But what if it drops below $10? What if it drops to like $5? I might lose more money. Or if they go bankrupt, I might lose it all. But what if I sell $10 puts and then I buy $8 puts, right? So it reduces the money that I would receive for those puts, but I can sell more of them because I've protected a lot more of the downside. So that's a strategy I like to use when I do options. And again, this isn't me telling you how to trade. This is just me walking through my process. Um, so consult your own financial advisor for this. Um, I'm not telling you how you should invest. I'm just talking about how I invest. So I keep a contemporaneous record of my trades and what I'm doing. So other things I'm looking at now, Coupang has come back after the settlement or the fine was finalized for the data breach. So it looks like a lot better company now, and I have a mid-sized position, so I may do some option trading there. And Nintendo, where I can't trade options, It's beaten down a lot, I think too much. So I have a mid-sized position there, and I think I mentioned in a previous video, I've opened an account with Interactive Brokers, and I'll leave a link in the description so you can sign up with them if you want. But when I trade the US listed shares through Robinhood, I pay about 6% interest. If I buy the US listed shares with Merrill Lynch, I pay about 9% interest for borrowed money. And with Schwab, I pay about 12%, which is outrageous. But if I use Interactive Brokers, I can borrow money in yen. I can borrow Japanese yen and then buy the Japanese listed shares. And rather than paying 6% or 9% or 12%, I can borrow yen at 1.5%. And when I borrow those shares at 1.5%, I can buy Japanese listed shares like Nintendo or Kyoto Financial, both of which pay more than 2% dividend. So you're borrowing at 1.5, 1.5. You're getting dividends at 2, so you're getting a free option on it. So that's what I'm doing with that. Again, this is just me walking through my positions, not telling you to do the same thing. But if you have any questions about Venture Global, just leave it in the comments. And I may do an update on Coupang or Nintendo very soon, or some other companies that I'm looking at. I'm starting to build a position in a company I mentioned in another video, Badger Meter. Uh, and I have been looking at Adobe, which I think is too cheap to be ignored. So I may do a video on that. So like and subscribe so you see future videos like this, and leave questions in the comments. Have a great day, everyone.